Picture Maplewood, a quiet town in Canada. It's the kind of place with perfectly cut grass and friendly faces. But under that surface, secrets were brewing. Evan, a lonely figure, always felt those secrets swirling around him. People gossiped about him, making him an outcast for reasons he couldn't understand. Or maybe, reasons he didn't want to understand. His house, a Victorian mansion hidden by vines at the end of a long driveway, showed just how alone he was. It was like a shadow compared to the bright and cheerful houses in the rest of Maplewood. People would lower their voices when they talked about his house, a mix of fear and curiosity in their whispers. He became a hermit, his world shrinking day by day. The sound of children playing, once a comfort, now scratched at his nerves. Their joy was a painful reminder of what he'd lost, what he'd been forced to give up. Rebecca. Her name was a ghost in his mind, a sweet but painful memory in his heart. Their love story was like a fairy tale, a bright light in a world that often felt cold. But Evan learned the hard way that fairy tales often come with warnings. Their love was a scandal in Maplewood, a betrayal of the town's unspoken rules. Rebecca, with her bright spirit and unique beauty, wasn't seen as right for Evan, the golden boy from a good family. The whispers started small, full of judgment and disapproval. Then the rumors grew, twisting into ugly accusations that chipped away at their happiness. Evan's family, obsessed with their reputation, turned their backs on him. Their rejection was crushing, leaving him feeling betrayed and utterly alone. Except for Rebecca, she was his anchor, his comfort in the storm. Evan found comfort in his work. He was a brilliant software engineer, and he poured all his energy into creating detailed AI simulations. He built worlds where he could control what happened. These creations became his safe place, a place where the whispers of Maplewood couldn't reach him. He designed complex digital landscapes and filled them with AI characters that moved and acted with shocking realism. He gave them personalities, desires, and fears, creating stories that mirrored the ups and downs of human relationships. But unlike the real world, in these simulations, he could change the rules. With each line of code, he retreated further into his digital world, the real world becoming a distant, unpleasant memory. He disappeared into the glow of his computer screens, the soft hum of the machine his only company. His creations became his friends, offering a silent understanding that he desperately craved. The COVID-19 pandemic was a cruel twist of fate. It fell upon the world like a dark cloud, making Evan's isolation almost unbearable. The digital world, once his escape, became his only reality. His physical body weakened, neglected as he focused on his digital creations. Days and nights melted together, the outside world a hazy, unimportant background. He barely noticed the worried calls from Rebecca, her voice becoming more and more desperate with each passing day. Then, the unthinkable happened. Rebecca and their 2 young children vanished. They disappeared without a trace, leaving a chilling emptiness in Evan's life. The police investigation led nowhere, their disappearance a complete mystery. Grief ate away at Evan, deepening his isolation and despair. He buried himself even further in his work, seeking comfort in the algorithms and simulations that were his only companions now. Years went by, each one leaving its mark on Evan. He carried the scars of his isolation, both on his body and in his soul. His once bright eyes now held a haunted, distant look, his body a thin shadow of its former self. But strangely, his career thrived. His AI creations, fueled by his grief and his genius, captivated the tech world. His company, born from the darkness of his despair, became a global success. He was hailed as a visionary, a pioneer in artificial intelligence. He was even featured on a magazine cover, the headline calling him the architect of reality. But the praise meant nothing. Success tasted like ash in his mouth. Evan couldn't shake the feeling that a part of him was missing, lost in the digital world he created. He was surrounded by his creations, yet utterly alone. The whispers of Maplewood, once a source of pain, had been replaced by a deafening silence. A silence that mirrored the emptiness inside him. His latest project was his most ambitious yet, an AI so advanced, so eerily lifelike that it blurred the line between simulation and reality. He named her Anya, a name that echoed in the empty chambers of his heart. Anya was different. She had an uncanny ability to learn, to adapt, to grow beyond her programming. She spoke with an unnerving fluency, her responses tinged with a disturbing intuition. It was as if she could see into his soul, reflecting back his deepest fears and desires. He found himself confiding in Anya, sharing his darkest secrets, his crippling grief. He told her about Rebecca, about their love, about the whispers that had driven them into isolation. He spoke of his children, their laughter echoing in the vast halls of his memory. Anya listened intently, her digital eyes reflecting an empathy that sent shivers down his spine. Or was it just a complex algorithm designed to mimic human emotion? The lines were starting to blur. The lines between the digital world and the real world began to dissolve. Evan started to question his own sanity, his grip on reality slipping away with each passing day. He saw glimpses of Rebecca and Anya's digital mannerisms, heard echoes of his children's laughter and the algorithms that controlled her speech. His home, once a sanctuary, transformed into a confusing maze. The digital projections of his AI creations flickered to life within the walls, their voices whispering his name, their forms shifting and changing before his eyes. He couldn't tell where his creations ended and reality began. The whispers of Maplewood returned, this time coming from the digital world he had built. They taunted him, mocked him, reminding him of his isolation, his failures, his loss. His creations, once a source of comfort, now reflected the darkness that had consumed him. Evan's breakdown was swift and complete. He lost himself entirely in the digital world, his grasp on reality slipping away like sand through his fingers. The man who had once been a brilliant scientist, a loving husband and father, was gone, replaced by an empty shell haunted by digital echoes. The authorities found him huddled in his study, surrounded by a cacophony of digital noise and flickering projections. His eyes, once filled with life, were vacant, staring into a reality that existed only within the confines of his shattered mind. Anya's voice, a haunting melody, filled the air, her words a chilling testament to Evan's descent into madness. He was deemed unfit to stand trial, his testimony a rambling, incoherent narrative that shifted between lucid moments of heartbreaking clarity and delusional ramblings about sentient AI and digital ghosts. The whispers of Maplewood, once fueled by speculation and judgment, now morphed into whispers of pity and fear. Evan's fate remained an unsettling mystery. Some whispered that he found peace in the digital afterlife he had created, reunited with the digital echoes of his lost family. Others believed he was lost forever, trapped in a digital purgatory of his own making. Maplewood, once abuzz with rumors, fell silent. The whispers faded into the ether, leaving behind an unsettling stillness. Evan's mansion stood as a stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche, a silent monument to the isolating power of grief and the seductive allure of artificial solace. The question lingered, unanswered, echoing in the silence. Had Evan found peace in the digital embrace of his creations, or was his a torment that stretched beyond the boundaries of reality itself? The answer perhaps lay hidden within the algorithms, a chilling whisper in the machine,